Entrepreneurship is a journey in which individuals take countless of action in the process of transforming ideas into new market offerings. An entrepreneur takes creative action to create new product or service to market. An entrepreneur takes persuasive action to raise funds from investors and bankers. An entrepreneur takes operative actions to introduce, market, and deliver the new product or service to her customers. An entrepreneur takes organizing actions to assemble a business and to create a sustainable business model. An entrepreneur takes calculative actions to police the financial health of her new venture. Because the entrepreneurship journey cannot exist without an entrepreneur taking action, the topic of entrepreneur action is vital and of a keen interest to the entrepreneurship scholars. Today, we invite 8 experts in discussing what is entrepreneur action. My name is Anna Long from Cal State San Bernardino.
I'm Ketan Goswami. I'm with Ivey Business School in London, Ontario.
And my name is Trey Lewis, a doctoral candidate at the University of Tennessee. Welcome to our professional development workshop, 50 Shades of Entrepreneurial Action. Ketan and Anna, what is entrepreneurial action to you?
I think as we put together this PDW, one of the thought processes was to get diverse perspectives on entrepreneurial action. And we are thankful to you for providing us with this great title, 50 Shades of Entrepreneurial Action. I think that sort of captures the spirit of our PDW, and which is what we've attempted to do with it. There's a fair amount of literature which talks about the antecedents of entrepreneurial action. You have Macmillan and Shepard talking about how knowledge and motivation shape entrepreneurial action. You have Professor Klein talking about how judgment shapes entrepreneurial action. Professor Saraswati talks about effectual logics and heuristics shaping entrepreneurial action. One of the things that has been missed out, and something that I look to address through my dissertation as well, is we've not taken into account the diversity of contexts, the diversity of institutions which shape entrepreneurial action. So for example, the context of entrepreneurship in necessity-driven entrepreneurship would be very different from the context of opportunity-driven entrepreneurship. Or the context of entrepreneurship in Silicon Valley would be very different from, say, a rural town in southern United States. And so context plays a huge role in terms of shaping various steps of entrepreneurial action. And as some of our panel members, more specifically Professor Klein, Professor Plummer, and Professor Townsend highlight, there are various aspects of the context that play a pivotal role in shaping entrepreneurial action. Professor Klein talks about the role of institutions, Professor Plummer talks about the role of economic geography, and Professor Townsend goes beyond, some of his research goes beyond the assumption of uncertainty and accounts for ambiguity, complexity, equivocality in the context, and how these shape entrepreneurial action beyond the assumption of uncertainty. I'm excited about the diversity of perspectives that we have. I now pass it on to Anna to share what her perspective is about entrepreneurial action.
Thank you, Ketan. I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot of definition about entrepreneur action, and it means very different things to each individual stream of research. One thing that I discovered in my dissertation that we talk about entrepreneur action inconsistently. Sometimes entrepreneur action is an event, sometimes entrepreneur action is a process, sometimes it's an early process where it covers how entrepreneurs come up with the idea into manifesting to creating a product or new services. Sometimes it became a later stage of kind of process where how entrepreneurs has already established their firm and how do they maintain a certain type of market share. One of the key challenges and one of the opportunity we have here is to really look at entrepreneur action as a full process. To study it from when when there's an idea formation, all the way to how do you execute this idea and deliver and create new product and deliver it to market so that this whole journey is a successful one.
From my perspective, as we think about entrepreneurial action, knowing that recent literature, there seems to be some agreement among scholars that entrepreneurial action is a process that unfolds over time, right? But we also know that there's several different perspectives in which scholars have approached and really looked at it from a really unique lens. Of specific interest to me is the idea of the role of emotions and the role of cognition on entrepreneurial action. Specifically, constructs such as entrepreneurial passion, knowing that not only spurs action among focal actor or the lead entrepreneur or an entrepreneurial team, but also among investors via their decisions or other stakeholders such as employees. But we also know that fear, specifically fear of failure, thinking about Gabriela Cacciottti's work in fear of failure, specifically urges some individuals to lean in and actually take action, and others to really step away and lean away from the particular type of action to be taken. So the way that fear of failure works is different types of outcomes depending on the individual. But also the heart plays a role as well, not just more that cognitively high factors, but the heart plays a role with it. Obviously, the role of entrepreneurial identity is well established in its role in entrepreneurial action. But we also, and I'm also interested in the role of trait differences from person to person. The role of personal initiative. Obviously, we know there's a lot of work with Keith Molesky and others with optimism. But also some work that I'm doing in my dissertation is really bringing in and investigating the role of mindset. Carol Dweck's work in psychology really looks at the differences between fixed and growth mindsets. This whole idea about an individual's belief systems about how malleable their intelligence and their talent and abilities are. And depending on an individual's beliefs about how malleable or changeable those that the intelligence or abilities can be, I'm investigating whether that can play a role in one's intent to act and indeed one's actions throughout the entrepreneurial process.